What's going on, everybody? Good morning. It's Matt, aka the Lumberjack Landlord. Super excited to be here with you on this fantastic Sunday. It's been a busy week. Oh my goodness. We had the live stream on Friday with Dion, which was an absolute blast, where we talked about evictions and rent control and all that fun stuff. And one of the things that I wanted to kind of talk about today was, did the market make you? So one of the favorite things for the crash bros and that kind of market to talk about is, did the market make you? And so if you just started in the last 2 years and you were just into flipping, it was kind of like any mistake that you made was glossed over by the fact that usually if it took you an extra 60 days to do the project, it didn't hurt you because the market only went up. So there is the case to be made that the market could have made you. That being said, if you've been doing this for 10 years, I can tell you the market didn't make you, because while the market's been up over the last 10 years, for a number of years, it was fairly stagnant. So 2012, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, kind of that half a decade, rents were basically flat. There was really no movement. We still rehabbed our units so we could get higher than average rents in the area. And so I think what's really interesting is just kind of talking about this subject, which is, did the market make you? You will find that there are going to be real estate investors where this did in fact make them, because they made great money, unbelievable money for 2 years, where every single thing that they touched, they would buy it for 250 or 300. They'd put 50 or 100 into it. And even though they had originally budgeted 50, they spent 80 to 100, and it took them an extra 2 or 3 months. And they ended up making an extra $50,000 because the market went up that fast. So what's really interesting to also watch is, I'm a huge fan of Pace Morbies. I think Pace is absolutely the greatest combination of intelligence, sales ability, and ability to teach, to help folks understand concepts and what he's teaching. So I think he is second to none when it comes to what he really kind of teaches, and building teams, and doing sub two and a lot of that he teaches. I think what's really interesting is that obviously tons of street cred, absolutely fantastic. But we were sitting around yesterday. We were sitting around yesterday. And so we were flipping through the channels and saw Triple Digit Flip. So Triple Digit Flip is actually Pace and Jamil and his wife Laura, and Jamil's, I believe it's his sister or sister-in-law. And they're basically their flipping team. And so what was really interesting to watch was, in almost every single episode, and I had watched a lot of the episodes standalone, but in watching 2 or 3 of them back to, front to back together while I play with the kids, what I thought was really, really interesting was, first, that I have to mute my phone. But what I thought was really, really interesting was, it was like one house after another where they were buying the house for $300,000. And they had a budget of $65,000, and they would start rehabbing the house. They're saying, hey, 365, we believe that we can sell the property for 450. At 365, we believe we can sell it for 450 or 475. So they get their triple digit flip, i.e. 6-figure flip. So in watching that, I think that it was really kind of cool to watch, because it was 300 with a budget of 65. So it's 365, and then they can sell for 475. What was really interesting is, every single episode that I watched, we went over budget. So they didn't come in at the $60,000 or $65,000. They came in at $90,000. So some would say, well, so it's an extra 30 grand on a, $360,000 already all in price house. True. But when you go from a $60,000 budget to a $90,000 budget, and you basically increase your budget 50%, that's a lot. That's a lot. I can tell you, as someone who's flipped a number of homes, that's a lot. If any flipper consistently was 50% over budget, they will be out of business probably in the first 10 homes, kind of without a doubt, unless you were in a crazy market like we were for 2020, 2021, 2022. So let's take it the next step. The next step is, okay, well, while we held this house, the market was still going absolutely nuts, insane, and crazy in their particular market, which was kind of the Phoenix market, but it was going unbelievably crazy, crazy busy. If you see me rub my nose, it's because I'm trying not to sneeze. Because there's no fast way to take that camera. Actually, there is a fast way to take that camera off, I guess. But so let's finish that thought. So it was interesting to me watching it because they finished it. The original was 300, then with a $60,000 budget was 360, and then they would sell it for 460 or 475. What blew me away was that in the time that it took them, which is it added another maybe month or so to the timeline, what was really interesting to me is that it went from 360 now to 390. So now it was $390,000, but the sale price was no longer 475. The market had drastically moved up to 550. 550 from 475 to 550. So this is the explanation that I would give, obviously, in the market making you. Now, the market didn't make Pace Morby. So to a certain degree, it was things coming together at the right time, but him having the right message, him having the right skill set, him having second to none sales ability. But when we look at it, what we really look at is the market from a triple digit flip perspective absolutely bailed them out. It did, because again, $360,000 budget ends up at $90,000, a 50% increase in budget. So they're 390 all in now. They were going to be selling for 475 and minus fees and all that other stuff, yada, yada, yada. Although obviously, Pace's wife is one of the top realtors in all of Phoenix, because she's just that good at what she does. But I think the other last piece to that is, but everyone comes smelling like roses because of the market. So that's one of the things that I think that as you guys watch the market, as you guys do the math, this is why flipping and burring is absolutely an advanced strategy. The great ones, Pace is great, and he still made money on the property, right? But even if it hadn't gone up to 550, and even if he were still 390 in, and he had fees and blah, 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 it wouldn't have been a triple digit flip, but hey, he still would have made 50 or 60,000 bucks, which is a lot more than most people make in a year. So I just think it's one of those things that as you guys continue to go through your journey, as you guys continue to walk through and better understand what you're doing in the market, as you guys continue to look at other strategies to augment what your core strategy is, just be very, very, very careful, because Millennial Mike did a phenomenal video on his channel, which was, he actually talked to me about the thumbnail before he put it out, and I kind of dared him. I was like, I dare you to put that out. And to his credit, he did. But he ended up doing really, really, really well on one of his burr projects. But if you look at it and you ask him, he'd even say that number came in way higher than I thought it would. So think about the strategy that you have. Think about the ability for one person, an appraiser, to absolutely torpedo your strategy, because you don't get the appraisal at 134 and you get the appraisal at 90. Oh, and then when you do, you're actually going to leave money behind in the house when you cash out refi. So the reason that I wanted to do this topic was because A, I'm a huge fan of Pace's. B is, in being a huge fan of his, I think it's important to recognize that not everybody is expert at everything, and that the market did prop up or certainly accelerate a number of investors in the market. Does that mean their entire business is bad? Of course not. Does that mean that they're going to go belly up? Nope, it doesn't mean that either. It does mean drastically compressed margins and drastically compressed returns. So where you were a business where you were making on average a triple digit flip on all your properties, 100,000, 100,000, 100,000, 100,000, and now they're 30,000, 40,000, 35,000. Well, now you're not going to do the amount of volume. You're not going to double that to make still less. You're likely not going to have nearly as much inventory to pull from because there's only so many of those homes where people are willing to let them go for that kind of number. Deals aren't infinite in certain areas. And so what it lends you to is you got to make sure that you're being an amazing, amazing operator. That's the quick segue also into, oh shit, I'm a landlord. Now what? That's the course that I've developed. I've put ungodly amount of time into this course. I asked so many of the people that I work with, what's the one most valuable thing for you? What's something that you struggle with? What do you think you need help with? And then I look back on my own journey and I said, these are kind of the 11 tenets of what I need to be able to do to become an elite operator. And then I need to get into the details of it. And then kind of the last step was recognizing that when you're new or newer or have only done things a certain way, often you don't see that there's the opportunity to drastically expand your business or change a few things and gain a ton of value. I put 20 plus years of my education into basically like 9 hours, maybe 10. I don't know what the final runtime is because it hasn't finished being edited, but we're like on the last video. So when I look at it, it really is amazing because I've had 2 or 3 people view some of the content and all 3 of them have had different opinions on what was most valuable to them. So I'm really excited, if you couldn't tell, to release the course. That happens actually this Tuesday. So I'm super, super excited to release the course. I'm so excited for you guys to go through it and experience it. I want honest feedback because the cool thing about this is we actually did it in a way where it's a subscription. And so that means that if you guys are on the course for the next year, as I continue to add content, you're going to get all of that. And so the reason we did 11 and not 12 modules is because I want the group to tell me what they think would be valuable to add to it. If I have experience doing it, which I likely do, I want to add that to it for folks. If I don't have experience doing it, guess what? I'm going to just open up that big old Rolodex and reach out to some folks. But one of the really cool things about the course, I've got 3 attorneys ready to come on, a roofer, a cider, electrician, a plumber. I've got a snowplow and tree guy. And so having all of these different expertise, it's great to be able to see it, talk it, ask questions. That's what the opportunity is going to be for those guys, for you guys to be able to get access to them. And that's going to be there in the course for you guys to have access to. We'll record it, but certainly we'll have those calls will be kind of probably about 4 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks, where you guys will be able to ask those questions, and ask them live of people that aren't going to earn your business. They have no reason to misguide you or mislead you. They have no reason to sell you anything. And so it really is purely just, hey, this is what I would ask to make sure you're in the best position. I believe that this investment that you'll make in your business, not only being a write-off, but this investment that you'll make in education and education in your business, I think will have the greatest return of any money that you'll ever spend investing in yourself and investing in your business if you really truly want to be an owner, operator, landlord, and better understand how to keep your, quite frankly, how to keep your property manager honest. I'm a property manager's worst nightmare because I've likely done more things than they have. I want to turn you into that for your property manager. So even if you have a property manager, this is something that will absolutely skill you up where you can ask better questions and make sure that you don't get any of those bills that you shouldn't be getting. Because without exception, I don't know of any of my friends that use a property manager that haven't gotten at least a few bills that they had to question and were really disappointed about in the end. So that's everything that I wanted to share with you guys today. We're going to open this thing up and talk questions, spend some time with you guys. And PS, hold on one second. And PS Dion, that's how you do 15 minutes, my man. Dion and I always laugh about that because he's so thorough in how he explains things. You can't explain anything in 15 minutes because it's like the Cliff Notes version and it's 3, or it's the full version and it's 25, which I love. You'll always see me on Dion's live streams, paying attention less in the beginning because I'm usually trying to put kids to bed. But I'm so excited for you guys for this course. So excited to make it better. It's great as it is. It will change people's lives, no doubt, and change the way they manage their business. But I'm excited to make it even better over the course of the next year. So I'm excited to be doing this with you. Anybody that's in the course, we're excited to be with you. And then lastly is on the boot camps. I want to say, I believe there's 2 seats left in the boot camp. That's it. We're capping the limit of number of people that are in the boot camp because we want to make sure that in the hour that we get together every week, that we're answering questions, that we're able to, everybody that in the boot camp is going to be able to participate. And that's actually live with me. So that's kind of what that looks like. All right, guys, let's jump into super chats. Let's jump into some questions. Again, let's do this thing. All right, so I'm going to go, let's see, let me just scroll back. All right, we'll do super chats first. Hello, Matt. Why can't it be Tuesday already? I know, right? Well, you know what the good thing is about it not being Tuesday is that we still have a video left to edit. So it's been so much work. And shout out to Millennial Mike. He's been awesome through this process. He is 1,000 times better at so many things when it comes to YouTube and social media and editing and perspective. And so I really, Mike, I couldn't have done it without you. I'm so super pumped that you were able to do all that you were and help me out so much. So I really appreciate it. Sending out super chat for a super guy. Hey, thanks, Dividend Dave. I appreciate that. We're here to deliver knowledge as best we certainly can. Millennial Mike, I use Matt's strategies to influence the appraiser, called explain the repairs, provide a detailed list of costs, improvements, like the video. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, really one of the things that we learned, or I've learned in the last 20 years, is you don't end up where you are by mistake. And so teaching appraisers, being able to have the conversation with them, guys, oh my goodness. I literally had an appraiser appraise a house for $35,000 more because of one thing that I said in the appraisal. And as we went through it, that magic one thing was, it's basically a new house. We went all the way to the studs. We re-walled the foundation. And so I walked him through how it was basically a brand new house. He agreed and gave us like a new house premium over an existing house premium. Not a brand new house, but a newer house. So this was a 1940s house that we made kind of like in the, mid 2000s house. So that was the difference in the appraisal, about $35,000, which was about 15 or 18%, I think, of the cost of the house. So it was big. And then Corby, wait, what's Tuesday? What I missed? Corby, Tuesday, the class, the course. The course kicks off Tuesday. I believe it's go live time because I don't want to disturb you at work. I believe it's go live time. I want to say is like 7 p.m. And where you guys will get an invitation because we're housing this. We're actually hosting this on a different platform. But we'll talk about that as we go through the show. But yeah, we wanted to put on a different platform because I didn't want people distracted. I didn't want people distracted with it being on Facebook and messages constantly coming in. I don't know about you, but when I'm on there, boom, 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 boom. I wanted it in an area where we could create community like we've done so well here, but an even more focused community on people speaking like language, and also in working with each other in like boot camps and things like that, seeing the progress that everyone's making, seeing the challenges that everyone's having, so we can come up with ideas of how to get through that. So it's pretty awesome. So that being said, and I just saw Jeff. Good morning, sir. Hope you're doing awesome. Let's see. Laser focused here for education while running college rentals. I love college rentals. It's actually something in the course. It's actually how I got rich. Not Dion's definition of rich. Thank you. Dividend Dame here and on time and super chatted. Dave, I don't know what you're going to do. You're so far ahead of schedule today. The Yoder, howdy from Kennedy, New York. Try finding that on a map. I think it's close to Jamesville, right? I'm from the Northeast. But I try not to go to New York. But yeah, I think it's close to Jamesville. It's like Jamesville's here and Buffalo's like up here and Kennedy's like right here. You tell me if I got that right, Yoder, but I think I did. Like the button smashed. I hope I didn't break it. I appreciate the button of the smashing of the button. Dion, Financial Freedom, thanks for coming and hanging out. Every time I hit the like button, Angel gets its wings. That's true. It's been confirmed. Angel sightings have been seen and made. Richard Gamino, great morning, Matt and everyone. Good morning. All-nighter hider sharing video now. Fantastic. Corby Carter, good morning. REI Stoners, what do you know, Dave? I made it on time too. What? Guys, lotto ticket day. Today is the day, lotto ticket day. When you get REI and Dave on time, I'm telling you, lottery ticket. Mary Beth Shovik, good morning. Good morning, Mary Beth. Happy to have you here. The Yoder, hi, howdy Dion. Kip SOS, good morning all. Hope all is well with the family. It's great. Thank you very much. This Tuesday, we have scans, which if you've ever had anybody with cancer around you or part of your family, the anxious day is always scan day because they scan and they see if it's still gone. So that's actually Wednesday. So Wednesday is the day for scans this week. And so we are excitedly nervous always, but faithful. All-nighter hider. Good morning, everyone. REI Stoners, morning hider. GM Stoners, Dividend Dave, hider. I know no need to be kind of rewind. That's very good. Was just talking with a buddy that watches Pace. Looking forward to working with that buddy. Pace is awesome. He really, really is. He's elite. He's really good. We'll see what happens with him and Grant Cardone. I'm interested to see what kind of comes of that relationship. Pace is obviously in the position where he's ready to do a lot bigger, and he's done plenty big, but he's ready to do even bigger. And Grant's the guy that's got the reputation of even bigger, certainly from a social media perspective. So it'd be interesting to see how that kind of comes out. Millennial Mike, I find the lack of likes disturbing. Good morning, fellas. Thanks, Mike. There will be others that are late and they can rewind then. Thank you, Hyder. That's true. Dividend Dave, morning, Darth Millennial. That's awesome. 50% over is a giant number, especially when numbers are tight. Hyder, that's exactly it. And you being in construction and understanding that piece of it, if you said to your customer, it's not 50K anymore, it's 75, you would be so fired. You would be so in court, and you would be really spending the next weeks justifying your existence to them. So it's just something I want you guys to really keep a close eye on, is BRRRR being an advanced strategy. And even when advanced people do it with amazing teams and they know the market inside and out, and they know how to do what they're doing, they still end up with these overages, and these overages in a big fluffy market where it's only up, very easy to account for and still come out okay. In a flat market or a down market, that's a little bit scary. Robert Farinelli, Stratford Home Appliances, your store, right? Yep. Need a new stove. Any brands you recommend? I'm looking at GE. Yeah, Stratford Appliance. Talk to George. Let him know I sent you. George is fantastic. He's the owner. And I like working with owners of small businesses. GE, if they have it in stock. Other stuff is Maytag and Whirlpool. Just make sure if you look up the model that it's not a rebranded Samsung or LG. There are some there that they rebrand. Yeah. Yep. John Doe. Good morning, Matt. Good morning, John Doe. If you start a depreciation schedule on a rental, but move back into it, then move out and rent it again, does the depreciation schedule reset? Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know the answer to that question. Let me just double check. Let me see if this is something important. Oh my goodness. Oh, kill me now. Dear God. I just got the list of parts and pieces needed for our current project. Dear heavens. Anyway, I don't know the answer to that question. I would ask, I have an EA, an enrolled agent, which is kind of a step above a CPA. The reason it's a step above is because CPAs test once, EAs test every year for what the new tax code changes are. The reason why I would never do business with only a CPA and I must have an EA is because I always want to be taking advantage of the code that's been put in place, whether it's to make sure I don't go to prison, make sure that we are doing the best that we possibly can in operating the business, because most people focus too much on the revenue side and only the revenue side. It's just as much focus needs to be on the taxable revenue side. So if there are things that legitimately we can say, this is a cost of the business, or this is that, and it now qualifies for this, these are the things that we want to know. And so if you have an amazing EA, an enrolled agent, every single year they have to test with the IRS to make sure that they understand the new rules that have been put in place. This ensures that we stay cutting edge and that we're doing things the way the government wants them done, there's no point in flicking the government. We want to make sure that we're in accordance and alignment and that we're doing the things that we should be doing. The best way to do that is with an EA because they have to look at it every year. Paul Jensen, if you are watching through cable TV, you won't see these comments, but you can like the video. Thank you, Paul, for that input. So if you have a smart TV, you actually can, it's just how you select the app, because I have the same thing on mine. So if you're watching through cable, that's true. But if you have a smart TV that allows you to select through the internet and actually go to YouTube a different way, you actually can select it there, and then you can actually see the comments. And the only reason that I know that is because I had the same issue that you did. And I was like, this sucks. I have a smart TV. How is it like this? So then I did some work, figured it out. And it was, you just have to select YouTube from the smart TV side and not from the cable side, from an app perspective. Pretty cool. Kip SOS, Pace and Jameel are fire. So I don't know as much about Jameel, but I do know a lot more about Pace. Yeah, I would think that Pace would only associate himself with really strong players. I just don't know. Good question, John Doe. Yep, I would think it's per ownership transfer, maybe husband or wife, vice versa. Matt will know. Thank you for the confidence. That's one that I have to punt. I have to punt it because I don't know 100% for sure. So I have to punt that one. Ninja Vanish, hello there. Good morning. Sierra Smith, soon to be an owner. Congratulations. Good job, Sierra. Keith Hager, my purchase contract says that the property must be of value or greater for financing. Yes. So absolutely always that has to be the case. So that's known as what's called a financing contingency. You can make it a financing contingency, i.e. the property has to finance for at least as much as what the appraisal is. You can also do this if it's a cash deal and you do it. How do you do it that way? So you can do it the same way, because in a cash deal, you're likely not going to get the cash deal if you tie it to an appraisal. That can be, so it gets muddied in the water. The good news is you can still do it. But yeah, most people tie it to appraisal is what they do. And to give you guys an idea, for those newer folks that are watching me, I had an appraisal done a year ago on a property, and within 5 days, the difference in price was 7%. So all appraisers are not created equal. Robert Fernelli, trying to figure out how I am going to balance work, rehab, and your course. Looks like sleep has to go. Only for a period. Here's a nice thing. Because it's recorded, you guys can go at your own pace. Here's what I will tell you. There's really kind of two ways that people learn. One is by watching it, hearing it, and writing down a note, and then writing down their thoughts on the note. Others are by watching it over and over and over and over and over and over again. So what I will tell you is don't feel overwhelmed. There is a ton of information there. And I remember Mike said something like, holy fire hose, Batman, or something like that. It's a ton of data. It's 20 years condensed. And so there are nuggets in there that absolutely we allow in the platform for you to ask questions about that. If we end up getting a lot of the same question, we'll just do another separate video for folks where we will answer that specific question and drill even deeper. So that's kind of how I envision the course working out. And I'll give my, my one Gary V motion like this. So yeah, Gary's good. I love Gary. Laura Samaniego, good morning. Good morning. I love Millennial Mike's videos. Yep, I will definitely gain knowledge from watching. Yeah, Millennial Mike is underrated. That's the best thing that I could call him at this point, is underrated. He is a remote investor. He's managed teams. He's done rehabs remotely. Those are things that are really difficult skills. And so I've done some of those things, except believe it or not, he's done it longer than I have. I had to change my business when my daughter got sick and I had to manage everything remotely. So I had to build up this crazy infrastructure and it was extremely hard, but I was able to do it. And, being able to then still do properties, it didn't matter if it was a mile away, 10 miles away, or 1,000 miles away. I couldn't go there because we were quarantined for 10 months. So I know that my process works. But yeah, Mike is radically underrated. All Nighter, thanks for posting the course in there. Corby, tenants, great word. Thank you very much. I know I try and make sure it doesn't sound like tenants. It's occupational hazard. Corby Carter, who needs sleep anyway? I concur. Yeah, I've spent 20 plus years not sleeping much. Dividend Dave, good appreciation or good depreciation question. Yeah. Yep. When you stop something as a rental, you usually need to dispose of it, which means that 25% of that depreciation is recaptured. If you rent it, it may start over. It's true. And then you also have to think about, if you end up deciding to sell it as well, that you've had your 2 years out of 5 years residency there, because that 2 years means that you don't get hit with taxes. If it's under $250,000 as an individual, under $500,000 as a married couple. All Nighter Hider, outmanage your property manager. Exactly. Amafid, the live stream is going to be totally oh dear God, it's not going to be bonkers. We'll leave that to people who like things that are bonkers. It's going to be something. Won't be that. Jeff M, good morning. Jeff, there's Jeff. Yep. Millennial Mike sent you an email. Awesome. I'm glad you guys could connect. That'd be cool. John Doe, appreciate the feedback. All Nighter Hider. Keith Hager, do you increase your emergency funds with the amount of doors you manage? So that's a great question. So I don't. And here's why I don't. I have insurance. And so if it were, let's say, like a tornado that went through town, right? As an example, if a tornado went through town and I had to pay the deductible on 3 properties, 4 properties, 5 properties, whatever, that's going to be covered by my emergency fund. The key is that the emergency fund really for me is there based on what my net operating cash flow is. And the fact that, let's say 10% of tenants stop paying rent tomorrow. Well, I'm making more than 10% of my portfolio. 20% of tenants stop paying rent tomorrow. So, okay, I make more than 20% of my portfolio. 30% of tenants stop paying rent on my portfolio. It's okay. I actually make enough to cover the 30% not paying. 40% of my tenants stop paying rent. It's okay. I make more than 40% on my rentals, so I can actually cover that expense too. So let's get nuts. 50%. I actually make enough where I can cover 50% of my tenants not paying their rent. Now, if they do, then I have expenses like evictions and things like that, but I don't have to use attorneys for those. I can do those myself because I learned how. And quite frankly, it's a lot easier than you would think. When you see how much a landlord or a lawyer gets paid for an eviction, you'll want to do it yourself too, because in most states, you absolutely can defend yourself. I believe in all states you can defend yourself, but in most states, you're fine and you can absolutely do it yourself. I know I taught myself how to do it. It wasn't very hard. It wasn't a big time investment either. It was maybe a few hours of work to figure out how to really do it on my own. Every once in a while, I have a question here and there, and that's why I have an attorney like that on retainer. But I can call them and I can have a quick 10-minute or 15-minute conversation. I can file the paperwork. I can then post it on the door. I can then file it with the court. I can then serve it with the sheriff. I can then see them in court and work something out or not. And then I can show up for the day of the eviction and take care of that as well. So I can do all of those things. So because I can do all that stuff, that's actually where I break it down in my course. I cover all that stuff because you don't have to be afraid of an eviction. You just don't. So to answer that question, Keith, I don't. I think, we keep 50 or 60,000 or so, something like that, 50 or $60,000 in that account. And rarely we dip into it because we fix a lot of things out of cash flow. So that truly just stays emergency. Even when an emergency comes up and I have to replace a boiler, like I have one that I'm probably gonna have to replace, by the end of winter, it'll be fixed out of cash flow. But if not, I would fix it out of reserves. Jeff M, what would be the best type of loan to get if I plan to live at a property for a year or something like that and then rent it out? And what type of loan to just start renting right away? I don't own any property. Yeah, great question, Jeff. So if I were in your shoes, I would absolutely do, because you get 10 Fannie Freddie loans, which are backed by Fannie and Freddie, the government entity. They own a majority, 80-something% of the housing market is basically backed by them, where the only thing that differs is the bank on the front end. That's actually the person that you call to service it, but the actual debt has been sold behind the scenes. I think for me, either way, the reason that you use your FHA loan is because it's the lowest amount down. It's 3.5% down. So for me, largely it would be a 3.5% down FHA loan. If you aren't concerned, generally speaking, about the down payment, then the more conventionals you can do at 20% down, the better off you are, because your numbers will generally be better. It will create more liquid cash flow for you. And it's easy to refi those, and you don't have to worry about PMI, private mortgage insurance, which is a cost until your loan gets to 80%. The only other thing that I would consider is there are conventional loan packages that are at 5%, but usually the fees are high, not fees, usually the rates are higher. So what I'm always looking for is that healthy balance. And so if you've got a stack of cash, that's your best bet. If you don't have a stack of cash and it's really just about getting in the game, it's the lower dollar entry point wins, so long as all the numbers still work, whether that's 3.5 or 5 on a conventional. Hopefully that helps. The Yoder, good morning. Message retracted. Doesn't bother me like it does Dion. Leonie Caron, good morning. Hi, Louise Mom. Good to have you here. I appreciate that you come and hang out with us. And your son is a pretty awesome guy, I gotta say. I like him a lot. Good guy. Let's see. All-nighter hider. Fingers crossed. Yes, sir. Good morning to Mrs. Caron. Yep. Angela R. Mr. Lumberjack, do you prefer to include washer dryer in your units or just the hookups? So, Angel, you just asked me the meaning of life as a landlord. So that's a tough one. And I really do look at this, and you can go either way on this one. If you own them, you are guaranteed to pay less water and sewer, because everybody that buys a washer and dryer buys the junk. And when they buy the $400 specials, those things use 3 to 4 times the amount of water, hot water, that a normal one does, and that a normal Energy Star efficient one uses. So the idea has to be, if you let them pick it, It really should be water, sewer, electrical are all on them. If you are paying for hot water, if you are paying for water, sewer, you absolutely want to pick them and then basically say, all responsibility of any repairs to the washer and dryer are your responsibility. They're your financial responsibility, and call it out that way. There's any myriad of different machinations of that. However, for us, and we do have different scenarios. We do have different scenarios, but it's always taking into account, do we pay water, sewer? Do we pay hot water? Do we pay their electric? Is it a shared unit? All of that sort of stuff is what we kind of continue. So that's the mental dialogue that I go through. Eric Soleil, good to see you, Eric. Back, been a minute, but glad I am where. Do we sign up for the course and what's the cost? Sorry if I'm behind, but I've been getting my second house ready for rent and building a new house. Congratulations, Eric. That's awesome. Course, Hyder put the link above. It's literally right on the YouTube channel. Oh shit, I'm a landlord. Now what? You can go check it out. It takes you through the entire syllabus, gives you a link where you can go check it out on the site and see all the different pay structures, because we have 3 different options. And yeah, you can check it out. Would love to have you in the course, Eric. Especially with getting this house ready. I think you'd be like, man, why wasn't it out a month earlier? I definitely saving people money for sure. So we had one that had, so just to prove a point, we took the ad. I have an ad writing section in the course. We took the ad that somebody was running. They weren't getting any traffic to the ad. All we did was write it in my structure and post it the way that I post them. And they had multiple inquiries and one person that was a triple star approval, credit, income, and proof of payment to landlord. They were a triple star. So they were running ads and they couldn't get anybody. They weren't getting any good activity. Then they got this one, and the rest is kind of history. Just saying. Angel R. I'm going to stop buying GE. Their quality lately, their build quality lately is not the same. Interesting. GE isn't the same anymore. Yep. Bought out by Hire, and quality has changed. So there's, that's true in some regards, but I can tell you that I haven't had any issues with the GE stuff that I've bought. They actually, I don't know if it was pre-merger, but their washing machine, their front end loader washing machine, I'm a dork. One machine of the year. So, and that goes through strenuous testing. We actually bought one personally for our house. The machine's been awesome. Not even a blip on the radar screen. But if you're looking for a good alternative to that, if you're looking for a good alternative to that, Maytag and Whirlpool have been still really good for me. Just make sure that they are not rebranded, because I got by that on a Maytag fridge. It was a rebranded Samsung, and I had exactly the same problem, shocking, with that Samsung as I do with other Samsungs. Man, that was annoying. Angel R, I have a 4-month-old fridge door squeaking and the fridge making all kinds of noises. So one thing that has remained decent with them has been their warranty. I would absolutely reach out on the warranty side of things. I had them come, I had an issue, had them come on one machine. They came, took care of it, not been an issue since. It was something faulty, which in the manufacturing process, I would expect, right? Angel, let's see, the Yoder, Jamestown, New York. Fun, you won't come to New York. I lost a bit on a triplex in 2022 to an investor from Olympia, Washington. Oh, very interesting. Interesting. All matter how. I think Dion is planning a video around the depression question already. Am I right, Dion? I think so, probably. Elise, fire me, please. Good morning. Good morning, Elise. Auto miscorrect. Eric Slate. Now I know you're rich. You have cable. Yeah, baller stats verified. Yeah, that treated me really well. In the storm, I lost. That's why my Three Amigos video was on my phone, is because we didn't have internet for 3 days. Thank you so much, cable company. It was a rough storm. It was a rough storm. Peter Navarro the third. Good morning. Good morning, Peter. Let's see. Keith Hager, since you inherited the property, the cost basis of the property is its FMV, fair market value, on the date the person you inherited it from passed, and not the date your name was put on the deed. Interesting. Yeah. Oh, my guess depreciation schedule resets as at quick claim. But was it an inherited one though? I don't know. Maybe I missed that part. Sorry, guys. Keith Hager, 27.7. I think it's 27.5. Is it 27.7? I thought it was 27.5, but could be. Matthew Paris, absolutely. The market made me. I had no freaking clue what I was doing early on. Hey, listen, I benefited from the market, and it's good if you're a newer investor to recognize making those mistakes in an up market is a lot easier than in a down market, because a down market, it could be your downfall and last one. So I think the market obviously contributed to the success of a lot of people. The difference is did you create business practices based on having an only up market, or have you gotten that much better at what you do so you actually better set budgets, don't overgo those budgets, and then the number that you can use when you're figuring out putting a deal together can actually be leveraged because it's then at that point accurate. Agreed. Mike is going to be a badass operator with lots of experience. Yeah, absolutely. Without a doubt. John Doe, thanks for everything. You're the best. You're very welcome, John. I'm glad I could help. Also, hello and good morning. All that jazz, like button jam. Thank you, Matthew Parrish. Appreciate that. Wins. What are you rambling about? I don't know. Not everyone is at your spot. No, I understand. Not everyone's at my spot. That's why I'm trying to teach people how to be at my spot. It wasn't that long ago that I was at my spot, and yeah, it was hard. It was definitely hard. So there's definitely be challenges. I believe in Florida, you are not allowed to defend yourself if you're an LLC. So I'm not an LLC. And that's one of the reasons that we don't do an LLC, actually, is I believe that's actually correct. Hold on 1 second. Just got to make sure the contractor is all set. Someone's lost track of time. Let's see. Yeah, all-nighter, but can be. Absolutely. Yep. I didn't do anything magical that can't be done by somebody else, especially if you follow my journey. You're going to gain a lot of knowledge from that and not make those same horrible mistakes. So that's the truth. Matthew Paris, and another reason why Deanna is correct not to have, exactly. Yep, not to have an LLC. 100%. Marina, good morning. Happy Sunday. Yes, Marina is here. Wins. I have a 4-unit lumberjack. How do I get more rentals? So there's a lot of ways. It really is, how'd you get the 4-unit? And then if that, how'd that go for you? Did it go well? Was it good? Was it bad? And then replicating that model. I always like to tell people it's about doing it perfectly once and then replicating that 1,000 times. And so it's really understanding the process by which you are, attaining rentals. Zuber has the buy box. The way that we had always approached it was we wanted to know how much money we were going to get in the deal and what we were going to get for a return on our capital. ROC, the rock. That's how we measure things. What was the return on that capital? And then the way that we really kind of learned the market was much like what the buy box talks about, from one rental at a time. It's really just understanding what does that type of asset go for. Where we kind of added on to that was what the asset sells for, what you can buy it for. But more importantly, to me, was what I knew I could rent it for. I can pay more for property if I know I can rent it for more than what the market believes the rentals are. So when people are using Rentometer, I blow their doors off because I'm using my own rent box that I put together, something I teach in the course. When I build my own rent box and I have the different categories by which I manage and look at those rentals, I know beyond the shadow of a doubt how much I can get for that rental. We've heard differences as much as $700 and $800 per unit when I've compared my number to another landlord's number. And they were like, yeah, that unit's worth 2,200 tops. I guess I probably shouldn't have been able to rent it for 3,000 that same week. He was wrong. I was right. But he was willing to pay a little over 500,000 bucks for a property that was just like it. I was able to pay only about 4% more, but my profit margins blew his doors off. And that was because we understood this is the type of asset I'm trying to buy, but also this is the rent box and what it shows me of what I can actually get when I start renting out these units. Howdy Lumberjack from Iowa Workman. Hello chat. Hey Lumberjack, maybe I'm let's see, let me just scroll down. I know my screen's going to move crazy. Okay. I'm better at this rental stuff than I thought. Very good. I've done major remodels and managed properties on the other side of the country. That's hard to do. That's not easy. So congratulations to you. Well done. Well done. Sorry, guys. I got contractors in the field today. We got to take care of these folks. Let's see. Ironwood Workman. I've been doing it for 24 years now, longer than me. Now, and have not lost the house yet. Awesome. But every day I realize how little I know about this business. True. Understood. LOL. Trust me, I'm not getting cocky yet. I realize how little I know. You guys have been talking about the interest rates coming down. If so, what do you think is going on? So at the end of the day, what's really happening is the spreads coming in because the Fed hasn't lowered the rate, right? What's actually happening is the banks are having to lower the spread because they only make money when they lend out money. So what they're doing is they're lending out as much money as they can at lower rates. But what have they done? They've changed DTI, debt to income ratio. Now it has to be better than it was in the past. They've changed credit score requirements. Why? Because now it has to be better than it was in the past. So that's why when we talk to people, we're just like laughing at people that say, I'm just going to wait the market out. At a 680 credit score, you likely won't get a loan. Because I can tell you back in 08, 9, 10, 11, you couldn't get a loan with a 670 or a 680. It was a much more expensive loan, like a full percentage point or point and a quarter higher. So one of the things that people really don't understand is that banks work on that margin. If they're borrowing at 4% and they're lending out at 8%, then they're making 400 basis points. Usually, I mean, for a while, we had that sort of a gap when we were at 4, but banks were lending at 8. That was a 4%. That's massive. That rarely happens. What that tells you is the bank is very scared to lend out money because everything is getting degraded and everything is retracing as far as quality goes. So what they end up starting to do is Fed's still at 4, 4.5, then they go to 5, but now rates are coming back in. Why? Because the banks now are making choices saying, I want to get more qualified people. Dear heavens, you guys, take me off the group chat. Teasing. But you want to be able to rent or you want to be able to buy, and the bank has to be able to rent out their money because they only make money on their money when they're lending it out. So as the banks raise and you have to have better debt to income, you have to have a better credit score, all of those things, their risk starts to retreat, then they can reduce their headline mortgage rate. So you've seen them go from 8s to 7s, now 6s. You can even get them in the 5s. I saw one for a buy down that got you into the very, very high 4s, 4.99. I've seen your first year payment at 3%, second year payment at 4%, third year payment, I think goes to like 5.99 or something like that. So what they do is they start creating these different loan products that are a little bit of gambling. They're gambling for the people that are getting them if they really, truly don't understand these loans. Now, these loans aren't nearly as bad as the liar loans back in the 80s that, if you were a mortgage broker back in the 08s, if you were a mortgage broker back in 5, 6, 7, 8, you likely sold toxic stuff. You likely sold toxic debt, likely sold toxic mortgages, and you were part of the problem and the reason that person got foreclosed on. That's a fact. If you did mortgages back in that mid 2000s area, you were representing companies that were coming up with doing anything that they possibly could to get debt, to get mortgages sold into the market. And so you were taking whatever paper you possibly could. Here, fog this mirror. Yep, mortgage. Here, just tell me how much money you make. There were loans like that. And a lot of those mortgage companies went belly up. It's because there really wasn't a lot of character and honor and integrity in those companies. And that's where I do blame mortgage brokers at that time, bankers at that time, but also people thinking that you can get a free lunch. Everybody was to blame. But that's what's changed now, is now you need all the documentation that you need to reflect, here's my income, here's my expenses, here's my credit. The world completely changed. And because of that, there are many, many fewer toxic assets in the market than there ever were before. So when somebody says, oh my word, foreclosures are up 500%, don't care. Don't care. Because what most people don't know is that foreclosure starts have almost nothing to do with foreclosure finishes. In many areas, the number of foreclosure starts that occur are 500% greater than the actual foreclosures that occur. So hopefully that's a good explanation and helpful. Salitha Berry. Good morning, Salitha. Happy to have you. I'll be emailing you soon. In the meantime, will you open up the course for more people to purchase? I'm very intrigued. So the course is open now. There's basically 2 versions, and you can just see it on the website. I won't talk a lot about it, just because the purpose of this is to spend time with you guys, not to pitch the course. But you'll see that there's a recorded about 8-9 hours or so, and that you can purchase for one price. And then there's a boot camp where you can purchase over here the course, or you can purchase with the boot camp. That's the part that's limited because we only want to have right around 18 people in that boot camp, and we're almost full. Because obviously a bunch of people just bought the course and they said, hey, let me see if I can buy the course. And then if I want to upgrade and get the boot camp later, I can certainly do that, because when you buy the course, it's for a subscription for the entire year. You can watch it as many times as you want. You can do it as many times as you want. It's all yours. So that was the goal, is making sure that was available to you guys, not just to take it once, but actually ongoing. Because I know with like real estate exams like that, every single time you take that exam, every single time you take that course, they're charging you money. Didn't want to do it that way. I wanted to give you full access, everything you need for a year. You can watch as many times as you want. In fact, watch it more, you will get better. It's just that simple. But that's there in the Hyder will post it. Wins, that's a very personal question. Where do you feel more conviction to success? BTC or real estate, and do you have to choose? Yeah, I'm not, no thanks on lumber. Should I cash in my Bitcoin for 100K and buy rentals? I mean, my personal feeling is I own some crypto. I don't give investment advice, but I can only relate it to as I sit here today. I have some crypto. I wouldn't sell that crypto to buy more real estate because my real estate holdings dwarf my crypto holdings. My crypto holdings are less than 1% of my net worth. So it doesn't matter. If it goes to 0, fine. If it quadruples, fine. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's still such an infinitesimally small number. Me personally, you can have your Bitcoin sitting there, and when it goes from 16 to 20,000, everyone, or 22,000, everyone thinks, oh my gosh, I made $6,000. You didn't, unless you sold. And if you sold and you bought at 16, you now have a taxable event. If it was less than a year, now you're paying 50% of that money. I will take, over the last 2 years, 3 years, I'll take my money in the market, in the housing market, over Bitcoin. It's not even close, over any of the coins out there, because every month I get a dividend check. It's called rent. Every single month I get one. I'll take that every day of the week and twice on Sundays. That's why Bitcoin, whether you want to consider it a security or a fund of wealth, or a place to put wealth, consider it whatever you want. At the end of the day, it goes up and down. It's still super volatile. And I want that steady return. I'd be far more interested in stocks that are giving me a 6 or 7 or 8% dividend. However, now at that point, why would I give up getting 20 on a rental property? So that's kind of the way that I look at it, because there's better ways to get money out of your rental than even just a market rent. I could do a housing rent where tenant occupancy, is often, 3 or 4x what a market rental is. And then I get basically the same thing. So yeah, and I'm going to get increases every year. So I'm not a crypto guy. For me, I know people can trade crypto and make a ton of money, and people did, but there were a lot more losers in the last year than there were winners. A lot more. Let's see. I have a 4 unit. Yep, I saw that. I can't find none to be had. Yeah, possibly. Yep. So the issue of none to be had in the market is I start looking at other assets. If I have a 4, maybe I start looking at 3s and 2s. Maybe I start looking at single families with ADUs. I start I do off-market stuff. I go after off-market stuff. I helped somebody who wasn't an investor, wasn't an agent. I worked with them. It was a one phone call, worked with them and said, this is what I would do. They then went out, they executed, and they got a 4-unit. Wasn't for sale, wasn't on market. You usually can't find more because they're not coming to MLS, but like Bud Fox and Wall Street, I'm creating information. I'm not waiting for it to come to me. Let's see. Oh, Daniel, I saw yours. Sorry. Dividend. Hey, I know, where's Dung Tai? I know he signed up for the course too. He's ready to go. I bet he's busy. Must be busy. He's got to be busy. Keith Hager, 27.5. Okay, cool. Yeah. Just trying to keep it accurate, my man. Keith, I appreciate you participating though. Let's see. Oh my goodness, I'm so far behind. Okay, here we go. Daniel Fury, that's what I was looking for. What are the laws on publicly shaming a tenant? Can I paint squatter on the door? Can I post video footage of this bum on YouTube? Oh, Daniel, I wish, you know what? I don't know. Here's what I can tell you. That is very, very, very funny. But it is very, very, very localized. It's very localized. Look up, there were some cases, I actually looked at them. There were some cases where the owner spray painted their own house like deadbeat or something like that. And he's like, I know the tenant's not going to do anything about it, but I want everyone to know the guy living there is a deadbeat. I don't remember what state he was in, but what I would do is, in all honesty, that's a great conversation to have with the attorney. Because some towns will cite you for you having graffiti on the house. If you did something like that on like the side of a house, some would cite you for having graffiti on your house, and then they would start to fine you. But I do understand that level of frustration. I completely get it. Wins. Zuber bought a lot of his during the crash. A lot, it's still less than 1% of his net worth. So I wouldn't say a lot. To me, 1% of your net worth is not a lot of anything. Like, even if you're worth $10 million, that's 100 grand. That's nothing. If you're worth $10 million. Most people, maybe a million liquid, or a million, not most people are a million liquid, but most people that are looking at diversification of their portfolio like that, they might have $1 million. But if that's in assets, then it doesn't really count as much, because then you can have 50% of your liquid assets in Bitcoin, but it's only 1% of your, see what I'm saying? So yeah, I think everybody has to kind of, pick their poison, if they will. And for me, I don't want to have to learn crypto to the level that I know real estate. I'm more than happy to take my dividend check every single month from my real estate. Yeah. Iowa Workman, Daniel, just use the law to remove the bum runner. Yeah. Is report the late payments so it shows up on his credit. Yep. Let other landlords know about him. Yeah, that's absolutely it. You can sell their debt, and you can sell it for pennies on the dollar. Like, after you get a judgment, try to collect, but you can do one of two things. You can either then go file a small claims court case against them. So I have a landlord that I work with that thinks that this is the coolest thing since sliced bread. I find the strategy exhausting, but I get it. The strategy is, when he evicts them, then he comes after them for damages, then he wins the judgment, then he takes them to small claims court and sues them. Now, the question is sometimes he gets the judgment in landlord tenant, and then he takes that number and he sues them, and then he gets a judgment against them for that. They have to report on every single rental application that they have a judgment against them. It's kind of nasty. B, they have to report that they've been evicted. Like, that tenant is going to have a really, really, really hard time getting a unit. Really hard time. Now, of their own accord, they did it. But That's how bad it can get. The other thing that can happen too, and this is my state, I don't know about other states. The other thing that can happen in my state is that you can actually not get the judgment in landlord tenant. You can then take them to small claims court, prove all the pictures, prove all the damages, prove all the costs. And then they actually work with the court to come up with a number. Because I've seen him get judgments that are $5,000, $6,000, $7,000. Was it seven? Yeah, I think seven was the absolute max. I forget how he did that, but let's just call it $5,000. Doesn't really matter. Let's call it $5,000. He actually was willing to accept $25 a week until it's paid off at like a whatever 4.5% interest rate, something like that. So he waits and gets that check every single week for $25. What's really interesting is in my state, if somebody doesn't make that court appointed payment, you can actually go after them for non-compliance of a judgment. And you can actually have a bench warrant issued for their arrest. That's how it works in my state. So he has, over the years, he has dozens and dozens of tenants. He had hundreds of units. He has dozens and dozens of tenants that he gets 25, 30, 40, $50 a week from. And if they don't pay, he just files non-compliance and they get a bench warrant. It's kind of how it goes. So yeah, there's, if he's that big of a bum, I promise you, he probably doesn't care about what you call him or what you would paint on the side of your house to embarrass him. Life is made far more difficult when we work in a credit and financials system, and a financial system where you basically stop his ability to get another rental. That's a far more debilitating exacting of payment or idea. Wins, let's see. Renter, sorry for the bad. No worries on the bad spelling. Oh, bum renter. No, you're good. You're good. We all have the same. I have the worst issue on my cell phone. I'm a huge problem on my cell phone. No, I don't want to create a finance. I want 70% off ARV and fixed rate. Well, yeah. Okay. Like if you want 70% off ARV, then you're not going to buy any more property. My guess is that you're probably either a bot or a poser. That's my guess. Aloha from Hawaii, 70 degrees this morning. It was 26 this morning where I am. So good for you. But I bet it's humid for what it's worth. That's awesome. Yeah, I don't think Wins is actually here to win. I think Wins is here to whine. Keith Hager. Also, since it's a tax season, the accountant takes the county appraisal and takes out the land value. Yep. On their appreciation cannot depreciate land. So that's very true. So guys, because it is tax season, I still have the contract with DIY cost seg. As you're putting together your taxes, you should be talking to your accountant, asking them if a DIY cost seg makes sense for you. Here's an example. I had somebody do one and they're like, yeah, it costs $450 because that's the discount that I get you guys. 1,000 lumber at DIYcostseg.com, 1,000 lumber at DIYcostseg.com. If that doesn't work, you just let me know because that code is still active. 1,000 lumber at DIYcostseg.com. I had somebody actually say to me, yeah, but it cost me $450. I'm only going to recapture like $430 on my taxes. Okay. $450 this year, $430 this year. But what do you capture the next 5 years? Because that's what the breakdown is it breaks down a property because it's not the 27.5 years of depreciation. It breaks it down because a number of items are done at 5 years. And then a number of items are done at 15 years. And then amortized over a 5-year period, amortized over a 15-year period, and amortized over a 27.5-year period, as opposed to all of them being pushed at 27.5. So check it out. There's a free 15-minute call that you can set up right through online on Calendly.com, or excuse me, on Calendly on DIY Cost Seg's website. You got to check it out. I'm not saying it's going to save you a ton of money. I believe that it will. I can tell you that for me, the 2 cost segs that I did last year saved me 5 figures each. And the cost segs cost, one of them was a regular house or regular residential. It was $450. And then the other one was actually, no, I paid full price. I didn't even use my own code. That's so dumb. That won't happen again this year. And then I did one that was a commercial, which was like $1,000. And like I said, those were both 5 figures. One was low 5 figures. One was well into the 5 figures. Massive tax savings for me. Don't know if it will apply for you, but I would tell you that for $450, my guess is you probably get a pretty big return. Maybe not this year, but probably over the next years. They are open to it. Okay. That's cool. I'm not having the same problem Wins is having. I got deals, baby. I got deals. So that's what I would do. DIY cost seg. I'd be looking at that. DIY cost seg 1,000 lumber is the new code. I would be looking at that. Let's see. Robert Farinelli. I would be a pain to do recessed light drywall is strapped to joists. Would it be a pain? Recessed light? No, I don't think so. The strapping makes it easier. The strapping makes it easier by far. Yeah. When you're right up against the joists, that's what makes it more painful. When you've got the strapping, you've got some better channels to toss that stuff. But you're also looking at the right electrician will have a bit that will get the hole up in there where you want to be. And then you use like a flexi bit that actually can get through the joist. So you can feed the Romex right through it. So yeah, I don't think that would be a pain. What to do with a room that has no lights? Yep. Very nice textured ceiling. It's from the hallway to the middle. I mean, you can go with like sconces on the sides. That's an option. And then you can do the sconces like off the power that you already have in the outlet in the wall. You can do them off of that and then just run it up inside the wall. You can do that. You can do sconces. Yeah, for sure. Yep, that's an option. The other thing that you can do is if you can just get power up there, you can do a Bluetooth switch where the switch down here is Bluetooth. All you have to do is run power to it. So you don't actually have to connect it to anything. But if you just run power to that, and then you just get power to the lights in the ceiling, which you already have the light that's already there. Or if you don't, then you can run it off of an outlet or an electrician can. And then you can just do Bluetooth, and then you don't actually have to connect the two. They just turn on and off with Bluetooth. And because it's just a pulse of power, it's, that Bluetooth switch is going to be fine for pretty close to forever. Alyssa M, a little late this morning, but here. Hello, Alyssa. Hope you're having an awesome day. I can tell you personally in October, when I started the new build, my documents were everything under the sun monthly. And now as of January, the documents have cut all the way down to only mortgage verification. That's awesome. Good for you. Good for you. That's awesome. Congratulations, Eric. Nick Ragland Johnson. Good morning, y'all. Always great to be here. Always great to have you, Nick. Let's see. Eric Soleil. I'm hoping the rates drop so I can gain more cash flow in 2 years on the new build. They likely will. The other thing that you can also look at too is Dion diametrically opposed to ARMs, adjustable rate mortgages. For me, I don't mind. Dear God. People having too much fun in my chat. I have done, what were we talking about? It's one of those days. So, I mean, hello, Glover. I don't remember what I was talking about. See, that's what happens. I get interrupted with such a great thought too. Crap. Anyway, Eric Slay. Rates. Yeah, ARMs. Now I remember. See, haha. Spending too much time with Dion. The way that the rates work is they do have 10-year ARMs. The reason why I like a 10-year ARM is because in 10 years, does the rate adjust? Yeah. Could it adjust to something crazy? Yeah. But over a 10-year period, where are rates? Right? They're usually range bound. Now, if we have something crazy happen where they actually try and kill inflation, boom, it goes up. If deflation actually happens, boom, they're going to go down. So a 10-year, over that 10-year period, if I can get that much better of a rate and I can accelerate the pay down of the asset because the rate's not particularly good, then that's not a horrible idea. I do have fixed rate debt on a majority of my portfolio, but I do have some that don't have fixed rate debt. It's because it's diversification for me, but the bigger piece on top of the diversification is I look at the amount of debt that it is. I have debt that resets next year. I have probably, I don't know, less than $1 million of debt that resets. But I've already run the numbers. If it resets at 7, I still print money. 8, still print money. 9, all right, I don't print money anymore, but I still make money. 10, yeah, I'm break even probably at 10 or 10 and a half, which is okay because I also have enough, liquid where if I had to and I had to pay that down, I could pay it down if I needed to, in order to make the property properly cash flow. But again, we're talking 10 or 11% rates. And even then, I think it's still not all the, I'm still okay. Video course again. Thanks all nighter hider for doing that. I appreciate that. Robert Finelli, no light switches in the room. Yep. Out near the entrance. Yep. Yeah, I would do a Bluetooth switch. That's what I would do. Key figure, Iron Workman. The more competition for loans, the lower the rates. Yep, supply and demand. True. Dividend Dave. Yeah, Dung Tran is Dung Tai. Yeah, busy with 60 plus units. I know, right? Man, that's awesome. Matt Bittner, maybe you could take the door off the rent house you own if the tenants are being difficult. You probably don't want to do that. The big thing is that you got to get out. It's nice to embarrass somebody in that's doing that. You also got to get out with your reputation as a landlord. And some might say that gives you street cred. I don't know. I'm not sure I'm there yet. Let's see. Eric Soleil. I knew that guy that used to remove the front door on renters' houses if they were late enough to start eviction, so he didn't have to go to court. LOL. He then gave them $500 towards the move and keys. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a strategy. It's not one that I won't pay for somebody doing the wrong thing. I rather I'll pay more money over time to make sure that I make it stick. An eviction, listen, there's smaller landlord. I was a landlord that had a professional tenant, and that woman was never evicted. And she was never evicted because she found a bunch of landlords that were always willing to give her cash for keys. Not worth it for me. Not worth it. If you're going to try and get me, I'm going to get you better. And I'm going to do it legally. And I'm going to do it in a way where it's long lasting and you feel it. Every single time she goes to rent, she has to fill out that she has an eviction. Every single time that she has to go fill anything out, she has to fill out that she has a judgment against her. Every time. That to me is far more satisfying to get somebody that tried to screw me over, that tried to rip me off, that tried to steal money out of my pocket. And now she got the consequences of that. So the system does work a lot of times. You just have to be patient because there's nothing fast about it. It's slow and deliberate. Rob, Matt, I've come to the conclusion you were right. Millennial Mike likes to be shot at. Yeah, I think so. I think that's it. My super chat was skipped. Weird. No way. I'm going back. Where'd it go? Oh, do you set daily, weekly, monthly, yearly goals? REI, thank you for doing that. Niter, where were you, bro? Do you set daily, weekly, monthly, yearly goals? No. The only goal that we set is doing our best, recognizing that it is tiring, recognizing that it is what it is, right? I don't play the victim card. I'm not special. I get bad things that happen to me and mean people and idiots on YouTube, whatever. It doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. I take it in stride because it just doesn't matter. At the end of the day, we're focused on the next thing, the next step, the next thing, the next step, always keeping our eye on the prize, next thing, next step, trying to bring people into our process that help us get there faster, recognizing that there may become people in our process that aren't helpful and they can go away. And that's the big thing, is just being, not being afraid to spend less time with people. As I became a lot more successful, we lost some friendships because, we weren't experiencing the same things. And while you would get excited for them, somebody literally said to me, they're like, "You're patronizing me." I was like, "No, I'm legitimately happy for you." Well, you're patronizing me because you're so much more successful. That's how you feel. That's not how I feel. So the key is, and, Millennial Mike was really dead on about this. He looked at what he could bring and offer to the group, and he's great. I'd be his friend no matter what, but he gets to be a part of what we're doing, real estate wise, because he makes us better. He makes me better. And when you are there and you're making somebody else better, they can't help but keep you around. Right. And that's kind of that. If he became, Mr. Negative and obnoxious and difficult, well, then bye. Like, I'll go hang out with somebody else that's pretty cool, that's not negative and obnoxious and a whiner. Like, he's not that way. That's why it's kind of birds of a feather flock together. So I would say audit your network, see who you're spending time with. Are you spending time with people that are in the same boat as you, or not in the same boat as you, but it's really, you want to be around other people that are growing. You want to be creating relationships with people that are growing. So hopefully I did get your super chat now. And that's the perfect way to say it, because as you know, I try and get through all the comments I can. Let's see. Matt Bittner. Nope, already covered that one. Pallavi, good morning. Good morning, Pallavi. Eric Slay. Nope. Used to remove the doors. Yep. Shot at. Yep. Super chat was skipped. Not anymore. Layla. Hi, Layla Caros. Good to have you. To file in small claims court, do you need the renter's SSN? How about to garnish wages? So in my state, I don't need their social security number. I only need their name and their current address. That's it. Because basically they're going to get served. And when they get served, they just need to know where to serve them and who they're serving. So no social security number needed. As far as wages garnishing, that's a really aggressive approach. You might be able to get that done depending on the state. Usually the less expensive path is just getting there. Usually states garnish wages. Usually you're hiring attorneys if you want to start going after trying to garnish wages, in most cases, not all, but most. My guy that just tries to recover, he basically just uses small claims because he knows that there's teeth on the end of that, where he just says, if I report you as not having made your payment, you're going to get a bench warrant issued. That can be a problem for that person because maybe they already have a warrant issued. Maybe they already have some legal issue. Maybe they already have another problem, or maybe they're on probation as well from something. You never know. But that's kind of how he does it. Let's see. What state are you in with that bench warrant law? New Hampshire. Yep. It's that law in a lot of places in the country. I'm pretty sure Florida has the same. Clint LeClaire. Hey, Clint, good to see you. Hey, Matt, in our latest episode of Real Estate Soap Opera, seller had refused to return the good faith funds. Okay. He believed he's entitled to compensation for his efforts after failing due diligence. No. So now, technically, if he hasn't released those back to you, I don't know that he can legally go back to market. I know in my state, if we still have a deposit on a place and they're holding that deposit, then you can actually, I believe that we would sue them, and then that would lock their house up from being able to be sold again. So then you can become, and then you can also sue for the fees to file the paperwork. Interested. Dividend Dave, I got deals, but not the funds. Sad face. I understand. Well, then if you're in Zuber's course, I would be watching his on how to create funding. I would also look at maybe doing, I think the guys are really good at it, Cody and Christian. I would be watching their content because they talk a lot about how to get funding. But I know that they also offer like a 1-month course option. I would look at their 1-month course option because I know that they know how to get funding. I mean, think about it. You know, Cody just turned 23 and he's been getting funding since he was 20 on, you know, multi-$100,000 deals. So I would look at those guys if because I think that they're probably some of the best off-market deal guys in the business. I think they're spectacular. Yeah, I think they're really strong. Leela Kiros, I was in contract to buy a house in December. Okay. Was working on lending docs. Okay. Jumping through hoops. Don't we all know it? Seller got impatient, sold and closed to someone else while in contract with me. I can't get my EMD back. Then you need to hire an attorney. Yeah. Unless you broke something in the contract, like, you know, like there's a proof of funds by a date, or there's financing by a date, or there's financing contingency date reporting. There's almost always something in there that reflects them being able to hold it if you don't perform per the contract. But if you performed on all those dates, they absolutely, that's not an enrichment scheme. It just isn't. It's not an enrichment scheme. Oh my goodness, that blew by. Holy Toledo. Robert Fairley. Ooh, I like the Bluetooth idea. Yeah, I'm telling you. Yep, I can easily run a wire from the outlet. Was planning on swapping it out with a decor outlet anyways. Yep. That's what I would do. About to rain in San Diego. Well, that's too bad. It's beautiful the other 364 days of the year. Stuck in escrow for 2 years. It's only 1K, but makes me mad. Oh, I get it for sure. Yeah, that's maddening. 2 years. That's crazy. Lumberjack Landlord, your answers are great. Oh, very cool. I'm glad that helped. I learn a little bit every time. Thank you, brother. You're very welcome. I'm so happy those guys were talking you and Ben Mala's chat. Yeah. Yeah, cool. That's where you came from. That's cool. You saw me over there. Yeah. I like to chat those guys because Ben Mala is like a Ken McElroy, right? Massive difference, completely different business model, massively successful, hundreds of millions of dollars. But sometimes until it isn't, because I can tell you, he didn't fix his debt. He had 2% debt, 2%, and he didn't fix rate it. And so now he's paying 7%, and he's getting crushed. I think he pays over $100,000 a day in interest. 100,000 a day. Damn. And that's because he didn't fix his debt. I'm a huge fan of Ben Mala's. Apparently he's not a huge fan of mine because he didn't fix rate that debt. But on a lot of those assets, he could have fixed rated it. He would have been in at probably 3.5 or 4 for probably at least 5 years. And he would be literally printing cash right now because that guy knows how to look at commercial assets and larger assets. He's the Don. He is. I'm a huge Ben Mala fan. Even with how much he shouts. I like how much he shouts. Yeah, I do remember that now. Yeah, now that you say it, yeah, totally do. Yeah, it's cool. I mean, it's really fun. I like meeting other folks in the chat. Like Hyder is from Uneducated Economist. Matt Bittner's from Uneducated Economist. Dividend Dave is from Dion. You met and Ben Mala's. Met some of Meet Kevin's. So I like being in those chats. Those are the people that I watch. I'm a fan of UE, Uneducated Economist. Simon, I love watching his stuff. I've missed I missed just like last two lives because we were doing family stuff. And it's not the same watching them afterwards. But yeah, Ben Mala, Meet Kevin, obviously Zuber, Dion, and they're Cody and Christian guys. Yeah. I like Cody and Christian. I'm a big fan of theirs. I think that, at the pace and the rate that they're going, I mean, they can be 1,000 units, no problem. Like no problem. By the time they're my age, easily they could be 1,000 units. The only question becomes, how do you want to get there? I know that they're looking at some development. I'm excited for them to do that. I'm going to have conversations with them through it because you haven't really lived until you've tried to develop. It really sucks. So yeah, development's tough. You can get there. It's obviously not impossible. There's plenty of developers out there. It's just very, very long, very long. It's a long, long runway. Yeah. Dividend Dave, Leela, people definitely need their license suspended for that BS. Yeah, totally agree with you. Yep. Yeah, interesting. Whew, wow, unbelievable. Ninja Vanish, if you have a paid off rental and you get a secured home loan on it, can you use that money for personal use and still take the interest deduction on your Schedule E federal income tax? It's a tax question. I don't know. I think you can because you're basically just taking out debt on the house and then it's just like having a mortgage. So I believe so, but I don't give it financial advice. I'm not a CPA. I would ask a CPA or an EA and then tell the group what the answer was. Eric Soleil, are the Bluetooth switches considered Z-Wave? I am looking at doing a smart home setup on a new build simply to make it more appealing for corporate rental in the couple of years. So Z-Wave, I think, makes them, but they're, I believe Z-Wave is what you can make an entire house, is my understanding. But yeah, you can do one-off Bluetooth switches. There's a bunch of them out there. But the Bluetooth switches are awesome. It drastically reduces. They're much more for retrofitting because they are so expensive. If you're building a house, I would still be going with, and you can use the challenge that I've seen with the Bluetooth ones is I have had a Bluetooth switch go dead. If that Bluetooth switch goes dead, it's $50. If a regular light switch goes dead, it's $1. And so they're 50 times the price. And so if you put, a switch in every bedroom, if you put all the switches you have around your house, you make them all Bluetooth, it's very, very expensive. I don't know if you have that many, if that would create an issue. But yeah, I've done Bluetooth switches, not broad deployment, just specific to specific issues where we've had a problem, like in a room or in an area of a house. I've put in a switch or two. But not broad deployment. I don't really feel like they're meant for that. The things I would think were more important for that single family home would be, I would make sure that you have RJ45 connections with Cat 6 or Cat 7, that you make sure that you have that, or even fiber in the house, because I think that will be the bigger difference, because as good as Wi-Fi gets, it can get laggy, it can get punky, it can get weighed down, and you still need to give the people the ability to hardwire to a wall. So I would be, looking and making sure that at least in a few rooms, like maybe an office, maybe, some rooms that there's the ability to do an RJ45, which is the network, which is the head of a network Cat 6 cable. I would make sure that you're doing that. In my house, this is as I bought it, but this was one of the reasons I loved it, was my house has 5 miles of Cat 6 in it. It's everywhere. It's in every single room. I can plug in, I can hardwire in any room that I'm in. But even moreover is I have a network. I have my own network, which is like a 1 gig network. So my upload and download times are super fast. So I'm never waiting for that sort of stuff. That's what I would probably take a look at, is at least having some sort of a smart strategy with like a rack where you have cable boxes with the little eyes on them and things like that. That's some of the stuff that I would look at, and you can probably do that pretty inexpensively, comparatively speaking. Ninja Vanis, I'm curious if it must be used for investments if you get the tax deduction. Don't know. Keith Hager, Uncle Skeeter said that fresh caught catfish and drum work in the crawl space usually takes 1 week. They were gone. What did I miss? I believe you. Rule number 7, audit your network. Yep. Zuber's number 7 for sure. Matt Bittner, can you explain how bad it stings the tenant when they get evicted and have a judgment against them, how difficult it is to get a loan? How much does their credit score decline? Oh my word. It is horribly awful. Office and 3 others will have Cat 6 wire. Sorry, I just saw that. That's awesome. 2 more days to go. I know, right, Brian Beck? I'm so excited. Let's see. How much is, oh, a lot. So you can evict, you can get a judgment. Then when you get the judgment, you can do a couple of things. You can do, depending on the state, I would have a judgment for one thing and then a judgment for another thing. So I would have one maybe for back due rent, and I'd have another one for damage, as an example. You could sell one of those to a collection agency. If you sell it to the collection agency, then they get the collection agency phone calls, but the collection agency will try to collect the debt. And if they don't collect the debt, then they just report it to the credit agencies. So you can, and you guys have seen like even like one late rent payment or one late payment in a month can hurt your credit like 130, 140 points. And if they're already at like 640, 650, like I actually saw a prospective tenant that had 432 credit score. She's just like, yeah, I've had some credit issues. Okay. Like what? Like at 432, you're showing to me that you're allergic to paying your bills. Not just you don't pay them, you're allergic to it, because no one would run that far and hard away from it. Hello. Let's see. I saw Ashley. Sorry. Oh yeah, so it crushes her credit. Yep. Small claims is $50 to file in South Dakota or San Diego. Yeah, sue for damages. Absolutely, damages terminology used for compensation. Definitely working on creative financing, and Cody and Christian are my jam. Yeah, they're great. Great guys, good investors. Yep. Dividend Dave, maybe joint venture. Possible. I don't know that they do a lot of joint stuff. I think they do joint stuff, but yeah, maybe. I mean, they're sharp guys. They're worth having on a team for sure. Ashley A. Hey, Ashley, it's been a while. Would you replace a drop ceiling for drywall in a Class C? So you got to give me more information than that. Why does the ceiling need to be replaced? Oscar, can you sue the realtor or broker if they did not perform in their behalf for you on your deal for the monies in escrow? So I don't know. I've never done it, but here's what I have done. I've tried to file a complaint against them on this in the state, and it is a stupid process. It is unbelievably a waste of time. You will almost have no shot of proving. I could prove that somebody took a number that was less than the number I offered by almost 10% because it was his buyer and I wasn't his buyer. And everyone that I talked to was just like, I mean, you could. I was like, well, what's the outcome going to be? They go, even if he's found guilty, it's a $500 fine. $500. It's kind of like an NBA fine, right? Like these guys are making 10 million bucks a year, right? They're making, $150,000 a game, and they get fined $2,700. Like, really? Like the dude spent more for dinner afterwards. Dion Talk Financial Freedom. If nationwide rent control passes and would go into effect in 2024, what would you do to your rents? Dion, we'd raise them all now. We'd raise them all now because they can't do anything about when it goes into effect. Everybody would raise everything now, and you think it's unaffordable now? Holy cow, rocket ship to unaffordable. Everybody would do their due diligence now to jack the rate. Tom Kind, thank you, my man. I appreciate you. Thank you for the thumbs up. And yes, I'm still going. Not for much longer, but still here. Yeah, I would jack it now. Wayne Miller, but no, I'm not a CPA or an EA. Yes. Ninja Vanish, I would certainly take the direction of the deduction for the interest paid. Yep. Yeah, Matt was right. Yep. It's just like a mortgage. Yep. It is a mortgage. Money you get is a loan, so it's not taxed as income. Right. Correct. Yeah. That's kind of my, I appreciate that, Wayne. That was kind of my thought process. Robert Finelli, Ashley, depends on a lot. Yeah, it does. It's so Ashley, it's not a cut and dry question because drop ceilings are really ugly. In my opinion, I have them in places. I do what I can to change them over to sheetrock, but it really does depend. In the Northeast, what you'll find is that drop ceiling a lot of times is a foot below the floor or the ceiling. And so because it was done, or when it was done because they ran wires, they ran cable, they ran all sorts of stuff. So I recognize that if I rip that ceiling down, I have to redo all of that wiring. And I've done that before, but just know that it was a massive expense. It was like another $2,000 or $3,000 worth of electrical work and changes. And then it was still another, couple grand to do the ceiling. I missed a couple up here. Yes, Hyder. 3 elements to sue. 1, which statutes were broken? Yep. 2, what is required to prove these statutes were broken? Yep. 3, what evidence do you have? Yep. That's all that's needed, and all a lawyer puts together. True story. The challenge is the likelihood that a bunch of other real estate agents, because that's who it goes to, it goes in front of the board of realtors, that they're going to say it's absolutely fraud, or it's absolutely a miscarriage of justice, or it's absolutely you did the wrong thing. Not likely, because they want the same leniency that they're going to get if they're ever in front of that board. Usually you'll have a few hardos on the board, and those hardos are going to be like, yeah, it's absolutely wrong. But then you're going to get a bunch of softies that are worried because they might get brought up because they're like, I do that every day. Kind of like when Kevin Malone in The Office is like, that sounds like, or Oscar too. It sounds like something I do every single day in accounting. Basically the story. So that's what I would tell you is for that particular instance, for me, I was willing to let the money go because I was going to spend 10x, and because that wasn't going to have the effect that I wanted. It wasn't going to paint this guy in a bad light. It wasn't going to be something that mattered at all. It just wasn't going to be something that happened. It wasn't going to make a hill of beans difference. And we just watched ourselves. We've since done a deal with that broker. Yeah, we've since done a deal with that broker. It made sense for us. But yeah, we did a deal with that broker, and the rest is kind of history. And I wouldn't have ever had a chance at that deal. And we made up for it on that deal. I can promise you this. I got a lot more than a few $100 out of them. Yep. Hard. Worked them hard. It worked. But Robert Farinelli, Ashley, depends on a lot. Yep. Robert Farinelli, finished basement. Yep. Eric Soleil. We lost a house in 99 to a backdoor BS deal that was under our offering price. I went after them, and the owner and the realtor got fined, and the realtor was suspended for 1 year. Wow. That's really awesome. Hey, Eric, is that in Florida? Is that in Florida? Tom Kine, I bought my house in July of 2021. Rent numbers on a 3-bedroom was 1,400. January 2023, the rent is over 2,000. I thought that was fast, but the rent control acceleration will be light speed. Yeah, exactly right. Well, everybody will look at the assets in their portfolio, and they'll either sell, or people will drastically step up the amount of deals that they're trying to do kind of off market and trying to get these undervalued assets done, then jack the rent. We had a fight with housing in one of the towns that we do work in, where they said they weren't going to do it. A deal was in Ohio. Okay. Thank you for letting me know. And so we've seen it all the time where people try and do the wrong thing. Housing was busting my stones about $175 a month. And I said, then I'll just go to market. Fine. I don't have to rent to you. It's a choice. And that's the thing that everyone as a landlord has to be the most concerned about. Are they going to take away your choice of who you rent to? Will they make more sectors of the public protected classes? That's what you have to worry about. But if you take the extra steps, you gotta be, you guys all know, I will not suffer anybody. I will just tell it the way it is, tell them to pound sand, tell them to, you know what. But it also has to be, you got to be slow, you got to be steady, you got to be consistent. And that's the key, is that you have to understand and deal with the fact that the answer is rarely going to come in the time that you want it. You just have to really kind of dial it back. And we like to talk about patiently impatient. I'm patiently waiting for this, but I'm impatient that I'm impatiently patient about waiting for it. But that's just a real estate game, because there's nothing that's really that fast. And Eric, that's an awesome win. Yeah. And anything like that with the one that we had, the problem that you have now, that's back in 99 when there were a lot more seasoned people. And now it's just it's definitely more Wild West. You hear agents promising the sun, the sky, and the moon. You hear people making these erroneous claims. I had somebody walking me through a house and they're just like, yeah, steam heat, the most efficient heat there is. What'd you just say? Yeah, steam heat, most efficient there is. Nowhere, ever. Nope. Nope. If that boiler's brand new, it might be 83 or 85% AFUE. It looks nothing like a combi boiler, forced hot air. Looks nothing like a forced hot water boiler. No. And then she just continued to go to the house. Oh, and these are fantastic upgraded windows. I looked at the windows. They might have been the first windows to come off the line that were vinyl. They were that old. So there's all sorts of that stuff out there. And, a lot of investors have just grace for agents that are these horrible tour guides. But a big influx. We had a lot of garbage, reps in 05 and 06. Mortgage brokers, I thought were even worse than real estate brokers, because they were the one talking on the finances side. And it's like, how much can you trust a mortgage broker that is been in it for a couple of years, or doesn't understand finance? Like, they're just having to watch what the underwriter does, because that's what the underwriter's job is. It's harder to become an underwriter, but the underwriters, even they have the rules that the company lays out that says, here's the standard by which we judge debt. And so the underwriter often can get that final decision, but they're not the one actually making the decision. They're highlighting the different items and then bringing it to a lead underwriter that says, yeah, that's fine, or no, that's not, or we want to see this. Eric Soleil, we had a deal a bit ago that was shady, and I threatened to go after them, and they didn't care. My agent said the same thing as you. It won't really go anywhere. Yeah. I was bummed, because honestly, this guy was a colossal tool bag. And I could spend 30, 40 hours. I could spend thousands of dollars. And at the end of the day, my return on that was $500 for a fine for him. $500. Lars Nielsen, I am looking to buy a second rental. Cool. It was built in 1961. All right. Has baseboard heating. Okay. Roughly how much would I have to set aside to switch to central air? What I would, a lot of variables there, Lars. I wouldn't necessarily toss the forced hot water. I would look at probably putting in a mini split in a couple of rooms, maybe like a 2-head. Because a 2-head mini split, depends on the market. A 2-head mini split where I am right now is about $9,000 installed. It's expensive. And for the longest time, I could do those for about $5,000. But a forced hot water system, I'm not quickly ready to abandon those, because mini splits, as much as they say they can run in sub-zero temperatures, they don't really run very well, and they're very expensive to run. And unless the forced hot water system is a real issue, it just depends on area where you're at. You can add just an AC mini split head. So and a lot of times, a couple heads, if it's a smaller house, that's more than enough to kind of to keep the house cool. Richard Gamino, Matt, my 1959 house with finished basement and block foundation lets water in. Yeah, I bet it does. Sure. I can do the excavation, just wondering what the process is to waterproofing it and if it's something for a DIYer. I've seen DIYers do it. There's a bunch of videos online that show it. What you want to do is, it's about creating a drainage point for the water that gets, basically down to your, depending on where you're getting your water issue. But usually it's if it's happening in one area, usually it's a excavate around, get clean around, and then it's usually like a rubber membrane that gets then wrapped around the house. I've seen it. There's a ton of YouTube videos on it. I would watch that for sure. Budget wise, yeah, usually that's like an $8,000 to $12,000 project. But there's absolutely the ability to do it yourself. If you're already good at excavating, yeah, you can excavate, you can rent, even if you don't own an excavator, you can rent one for $400 for the day. And then once you get the thing open, it's all clear. Like I've had cinder block walls rebuilt from scratch that were from the footing up, which is like the base of the foundation, footing up to the sill. And it was like 30 feet across. It was costing me about $3,000. Phenomenal work. They did amazing work, but we just excavated it out. They built everything back up. And then after we did that, then we rubberized it or membraned it and then filled it back in. No issue. Great question, Richard. Very few basements in my area. I just know too. Yep. Just want to know. Yep. That's what I would do. Eric Soleil, my rental has a mini in it. Yep. And was fine through the -10-degree weather we had. Yep. The renter loves it and has not had a bill above $70 a month. That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. And the minis, they even say right on them, like that one went -10 for a few days. That's awesome. Consistently though, they're still not there. That's why I forget who it is. It might be Train. Somebody is investing tens of millions of dollars in making sure that they can handle sub-zero weather, because and I can tell you the performance of the mini splits in really cold climates, it's not there. We're a really cold climate. So I know of what I speak from my area for really cold. It's not good. Certainly not consistency. But the other piece of it too is insulation, and that's because a lot of these older homes are not insulated with, R23 in the walls and R38 in the ceilings. A lot of them aren't insulated that well. A lot of them don't have, new within the last few years Energy Star windows, and things like that. So think about anytime you're looking at a house like that, you're looking at the envelope. And if the envelope has little tears in it, i.e., windows or doors or insulation or nothing back, no vapor barriers and things like that. If you have that stuff, it just means your house is more porous. It means your envelope is more suspect or subject to losing heat or losing AC. And so that's the challenge when you're moving into any places. It's really tough to guarantee what level of construction was done. We do closed cell foam a lot of times in walls. It's 8 times the price. But we see heat bills in the wintertime that don't exceed $125 or $150. Whereas other people are getting bills for $400, $450. It's a big difference. So that's that. Well, guys, it was an absolute blast hanging out with you guys today. I'm going to go up and hang out with my kiddos for the rest of the day and then watch some hockey tonight and some football this afternoon. It's a busy day. But Tuesday night, the course will be released. That is what we're looking at. And so I'm super excited to do that with you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out as you guys always do. Super excited to be with you guys in the course and doing the boot camp. And again, you guys will get your invite to the platform where you'll be able to sign up for it. If you've already paid, you're able to sign up for it, get access, username, all that good stuff. That way you can have the space where we're going to go meet every single week, and a list of all the courses so you can tab through them and watch to your heart's content. Guys, thank you again so much. I hope you have an absolutely awesome week. Continue just doing what you're doing. Keep on doing that work. Keep on watching your market. You'll continue to see it will be different than what's happening nationally. It might be the same. It might be different. But I can tell you the median home price thing, a lot of people really don't understand that. If you have 10 houses that sell, it's literally house number 5. That's the median. So when you eliminate a lot of the higher end homes, guess what happens? The price goes down. Is the price of the $500,000 and less home going down? It's not. Those are staying elevated. The ones that are being taken out of the number are the medians, are the higher ones. So I looked at it and it's like Vegas luxury properties are down 36%. Move up buyer, 30 to 40% as well. That means almost all the transactions are happening on the low end. So what's that mean? That means that the median is in the middle of that, right? As opposed to counting the move up buyer and the luxury. That's what's driving that number down. So for what it's worth. But you guys have an absolutely fantastic week. Think about that. I think that that's something that a lot of the crash bros are missing. So hope you guys have a fantastic week. We'll talk again soon. Take care, everybody.